midday, and this is Africa Update coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa on Channel Africa from an African perspective. I'm Lulu Gaboo. I'm in studio with Jwalani Tulongwepe, Figileli Ngwati, and Tabiso Lehoko. First up, the news with Jwalani Tulo.
SABC News. The African perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. Good day. The Southern Africa Red Cross Societies convenes for 2 days from today in Luanda in Angola for a high-level meeting aimed at assessing the evolving humanitarian situation in the region. The discussions will place a strong focus on Zambia and Malawi, the two countries which are continuing to receive refugees fleeing instability in neighboring states. Zambia is home to over 150,000 refugees, mainly displaced from the DRC, Burundi and the Sahel. Malawi's Dzaleka refugee camp, which was originally intended to host 12,000 people, has 60,000 refugees. Secretary General of the Angola Red Cross Society, Felicidade Saravia.
Okay, we will discuss our partnership between the national societies of Southern Africa and, of course, also the humanitarian situation in all the 10 countries that we will be represented in this meeting. We have here also in Angola the same situation, and because of the situation on the other countries, humanitarian situation, we receive a lot of refugees in our country, and mostly on the Lunda North, and of course this is affecting our humanitarian situation on the zone.
The UN humanitarian chief Tom Fletcher says his teams need urgent access to the devastated Sudanese city of Al Fasher to help civilians still stranded there. He says that the number of people leaving the city has been lower than expected, and he's having tough conversations with the paramilitary rapid support forces now controlling the city to let aid in. Fletcher is on a visit to the Darfur region, which he describes as the current epicenter of global inhumanity.
We want to get our investigation teams in urgently, and that's been part of the reason for me being here, is to negotiate the access for our teams. And of course, we want to get those life-saving aid convoys into Al Fasher. We want to see the UN flag and our humanitarian partners inside Al Fasher responding as best we can to the needs of the survivors.
The high-ranking officer in the South African Police Service is struggling to explain her role in Police Minister Senzo Mchunu disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team, or PKTT. Major General Mary Motsepe is testifying before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria. She held positions such as the Acting Divisional Commissioner for Detective Services and component head of the Serious and Violent Crime Division. The Commission is investigating allegations that criminal syndicates have infiltrated law enforcement. Motsepe says she was informed that the 121 PKTT dockets were brought to the head office for auditing.
So when you audit docket, you just want to check whether the very same charge appears on the list, which is on the printout, which you get from the case administration system. You check whether the complainant is the same, and then we have to do it through the right way of doing docket audit. You must audit with the system in front of you to check whether the charges relate with the charges which are captured in the system.
Political parties represented in the South African Parliament are questioning the arrival of 153 Palestinians at the O R Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg last week. Their presence in the country has sparked questions about whether proper immigration procedures were followed. The African Christian Development Party has accused government of unlawfully intervening to allow the group into the country. The party has also urged the ministers, have argued that the ministers have treated international issues with greater urgency than crises that vulnerable local communities are facing, especially in crime-ridden areas. ACDP Deputy President Wayne Thring.
We understand that Mr. Ronald Lamola and DIRCO Director General Mr. Zain Dango intervened, allowing the Palestinians to enter South Africa seemingly in breach of our immigration laws. Surprisingly, some ministers are quick to respond to Palestinian issues, but slow to respond to key service delivery issues of ordinary South Africans, and slow to respond to intervene on the Cape Flats and Khayelitsha, Langa and Westbury, Wentworth and Phoenix, Kwamashu areas, where our young men are gunned down on a daily basis.
And finally, US President Donald Trump has called on House Republicans to vote for the release of government files relating to the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In a notable reversal, Trump says there's nothing to hide, adding that it's time to move on from what he describes as a Democrat hoax. Trump has been under huge pressure from Democrats and some Republicans over his administration's decision not to release the Epstein files, including from former allies such as the Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. A vote in the House is expected as early as tomorrow. Speaking to reporters before boarding Air Force One, Trump said he did not want the matter to become a distraction.
They're using Jeffrey Epstein as a deflection from the tremendous success that we're having as a party.
For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulo Wepe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
In a sports headline, public internet VAR model wins favour with South African delegation in Spain. And Rory McIlroy pays tribute to Sevi Ballesteros for clinching the 7th race to Dubai title. I'll be back with these and other stories at the bottom of the hour.
Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Well, thank you to Jolani Tulo Mwepe with our news update and Figileni Wati with our sports headlines. It is 12:07 Central African time and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa on DSTV's audio bouquet channel 802, OpenView channel 628 and on www.channelafrica.co.za as well as on the SABC Plus app available on the Apple and Google Play stores. Now join us in conversation on our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram, and subscribe on YouTube at Channel Africa 1. On Facebook at Channel Africa, you can also send us your comments and voice notes to +2763 as 406-9126 #Africa Update and let us know which country you're in. And if you have any stories that you'd like us to highlight or to focus on, send us an email. It is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or give us a call on +2711 714 4459.
The G20 Summit through African eyes, live updates, and expert voices only on Channel Africa. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time. Conversations are happening, and Channel Africa is at the heart of them. We tell the African story with clarity, pride, and purpose, reaching audiences that matter to your brand. Partner with us and connect your business with listeners across borders in multiple languages and markets. For partnership opportunities, sponsorship, or sales, email us at partnership@channelafrica.co.za. Channel Africa, the African perspective. The sound of Africa is evolving. Experience our new mobile app. Free to download, free to connect. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
It is 12:09 Central African Time and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Now, authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo say 32 miners have been killed in the collapse of a bridge at a cobalt mine in the southeast of the country. An official from the country's mining agency says panic ensued after soldiers opened fire, triggering the collapse of the mine. Now, reports are that access to the mine had been prohibited due to heavy rains and the risk of landslides, and that the miners were on site without permission. Officials from a monitoring group accused the army of firing shots to secure the sites. That this triggered panic as miners rushed for safety and piled on top of one another. Rights groups are calling for an independent investigation into the military's role. And for more on this, Channel Africa's news correspondent in the DRC, Jimmy Shukrani Bakwanera, joins us. Jimmy, good afternoon and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you so much.
Now, Jimmy, what's the current situation at the mine?
Yes, of course. The government just announced that it's more than 50 people who have just lost their lives, and until now, the researchers keep on just to see the source of.
All right, Jimmy, I'm not sure. Jimmy, your connection, I don't know whether you need to move around a little because we keep missing key words and getting left behind, I beg your pardon. So just move around and get a better connection. Let's try again. Just the situation at the mine. What has changed? Are the figures of people who've lost their lives the same? Has there been an increase? And what's happening currently there? Jimmy, are you there?
Talking about this situation, and it came.
All right, Jimmy, unfortunately, we are going to have to let this go for now and try a better connection later because the network is not great. That's our correspondent on the ground in the DRC. That's Jimmy Shukrani Bakwanera, and he is joining us and just trying to give us an update as to the 32 miners who lost their lives in the collapse of a bridge at a cobalt mine in the southeast of the country. It is 12 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa.
Africa at Play with Neto and ETO Mane.
I've witnessed something fresh, something exciting, and something very inspirational from the president of the country, William Ruto. Whenever athletes are performing to their best level, he always comes on board to reward those athletes, be it football, be it athletics, and not leaving it up to the sport ministry.
The president realizes that sports is a business, and for that reason, he also reduces the number of people who are jobless because sports now is such a serious business, and for that reason, commercialization of sports is a major way of improving or increasing employment opportunities for the young people, and that is why the president has been very persistent in trying as much as possible to inspire more sports personalities to reduce the baggage of the people who are struggling to get job opportunities in the country among the young people.
Francis F.M. Motegi, our correspondent from East Africa in Nairobi, Kenya.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time. Got something to say? Are you passionate about issues that matter? Do you have a voice that deserves to be heard? Well, we've got the perfect platform for you. Call in or drop us a WhatsApp on +27 63 406 9126. And we will call you back so you could have your say and be part of the conversation.
30 years of age. I just turned 30 on the 15th of November. So that's who I am, you know.
It's not just talk. It's your chance to air your views, share your opinion, engage with a community that values your perspective. Follow us on our social media. Visit our website at www.channelafrica.co.za and get ready to share your views on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Stay tuned to Channel Africa. Stream us on our new and updated website, channelafrica.co.za. Your window to the continent and beyond. Africa Update. Only on Channel Africa. Channel Africa. The African perspective.
It is 14 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced that his country will symbolically hand over the G20 presidency to an empty chair during the upcoming summit in Johannesburg as the United States declines to attend. The remark was prompted by the announcement from the U.S. that no government officials would attend the upcoming summit on Friday and Saturday. On Saturday and Sunday in South Africa, Johannesburg at Nasrec. Now, the absence of U.S. leadership at the summit marks a rare low point for the G20, an institution built on the cooperation of the world's major economies. And for more on this, we are joined on the line by a senior lecturer in the Department of Political Sciences at the University of South Africa, Professor Dirk Kotze. Professor Kotze, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much.
Now, let's talk about the U.S. Do you think the U.S. will not send a representative as per Trump's announcement? Is this something that we should just forget about?
Well, I think there won't be coming someone from the current administration. That means someone from the White House, someone from the executive, someone representing, therefore, the U.S. in terms of from a political point of view. Whether it is possible to send one of the most senior persons in the embassy, the American embassy in South Africa, to stand in and just from a point of view of filling the gap, that I don't think is completely impossible. But it's all going to depend ultimately on President Trump's decision.
And do you think that this will have an impact on the G20, just considering the fact that this is a group of 20 leaders, and any decisions or that need to be confirmed by all leaders, all partners to the G20, if one of them is missing or a few of them are missing, does that then still hold, whatever decisions are taken this particular weekend?
Well, the persons who participate in the G20, like this one, are there as state representatives. They represent the state. It's not the president who's supposed to be necessarily there. We are seeing that in some cases there will be prime ministers who will represent and not the president, or even some other very senior persons, like, for example, ministers of foreign affairs in some instances. So it is not about that the membership is about the person of the president. The membership is about the state. And the state can decide who they are going to send to represent them at the summit.
And now, just say, for interest's sake, we say, hypothetically, the U.S. does not send anyone. What does it mean going forward?
Well, it means that the biggest economy in the world is not there. And I think we should remind ourselves that the G20 has been formed as a result of some of the big economic problems that developed, especially round about from 2000 onwards. So it is an informal arrangement. It's not formal. It does not have permanent institutions. It does not have a secretariat. It does not have a secretary general. None of those aspects it has. So in that sense, it has developed now over time to where it is, with inclusion of the European Union, the inclusion of the African Union, and South Africa as an African state, but not part of the top 20 economies of the world. So in that sense, it's a forum that deals with the big economic issues of the world, and where it is a dialogue, discussion forum in which they try to develop some form of consensus about big issues, big economic issues, global issues, how that should be approached in a more collective way. So that is in essence what the G20 is. It does not have binding decision-making powers. Whatever the statement is going to be at the end of it is merely there because they support it. But other countries who are not there are not necessarily expected to support it, for example. It's not at the same level as, for example, the United Nations, where even there they don't have binding force the decisions there, except for some of the Security Council.
Now, next year, the U.S. is now hosting the G20 summit. Is South Africa likely to attend next year's G20 summit in the U.S.? And just what does it mean for the relations? We know that from now until next year, this time, the build-up will be there in terms of, whether it's communication and discussions between both countries. But what does it mean going forward for South Africa?
Well, South Africa will remain quite closely involved in the preparations for and the transition to next year's presidency of the U.S. of the G20. They work with the practice that's been used by many international organizations of that it's of three countries or three members that are working together. It's the current president, the former president, and the incoming president. And South Africa, as the former president, will therefore be part of it. So when it comes to formal discussions, formal preparations for next year's G20 process, because it takes the whole year, South Africa is expected, in terms of this practice, to participate in that. Next year, with the final summit, South Africa must decide whether we want to be there or not. It's not something. South Africa is a full member, so they can't be prevented from attending it.
Well, Prof, it's a very interesting time in South Africa. What are you looking forward to this coming weekend when it comes to the G20 summit?
Well, I think what will be interesting is, first of all, to see ultimately who do arrive here from the different countries. And then secondly, what will be the main points on which they are going to either easily agree on, or where there will be sticking points, where they might disagree on specific issues. A lot of the work has been done already, so it's in a sense the finalization of the process. It's not something which starts afresh. And therefore, normally there's not many issues that are being contested at the time of the summit. But it's never impossible for that to happen. And I think given the current nature of the global situation, both economically as well as politically, there's more than enough reason for quite an active and vibrant debate that can happen there.
Well, Prof, thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. We'll leave it there for today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
That's Professor Dirk Kotze, Senior Lecturer in the Department of Political Sciences at the University of South Africa, joining us on the line. It is 22 after 12 Central African Time.
Global leaders, African insights. Follow the G20 summit with Channel Africa as it happens. Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa. Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
South African actor and playwright Dr. John Kani has urged people to safeguard the planet for future generations. He made the appeal at the Worldwide Fund for Nature South Africa's annual general meeting in Johannesburg. Kani was honored with the WWF Living Planet Award for an individual, recognizing his work as the longest-serving trustee of the WWF Nedbank Green Trust, as well as his time and iconic voice in support of the organization's conservation efforts. Tutongobeni filed this.
South Africa's Deputy Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Narendra Singh, says transnational wildlife crime is a serious concern for the country. Singh was speaking at the Worldwide Fund WWF South Africa annual general meeting in Sandton, Johannesburg. The AGM brought together a diverse and influential cross-section of leaders from business, government and civil society, all united by a shared commitment to conserving the natural heritage.
It is important and of serious concern to us as a department, and should be of serious concern to us as a country, that's transnational wildlife crime. This is not just an environmental crisis, It is an assault on our rule of law, security, economy, and biodiverse tourism sector. Criminal syndicates embed themselves in communities, diversify their operations, and exploit corruption and porous borders to traffic high-value species, fauna and flora. And we are interacting with international bodies, we're trying to interact with international governments to see how we can collectively deal with this.
On the role the WWF has played in, among others, helping in establishing national parks and the scientific research into the Southern African nations' biodiversity, Singh commended the WWF.
Our cause is just, I believe, and we must endure. And with WWF as our steadfast partner, I'm confident we will choose the path of courage, collaboration, and transformation. And as I said in the beginning, your fingerprints are felt across all our entities and across the globe.
As part of the program of the AGM, the WWF hosted a short award ceremony. South African world-renowned actor Dr. John Kani emerged as a recipient for one of the two awards. He has been awarded the WWF's Living Planet for an individual for his work as the longest-serving trustee of the WWF Nedbank Green Trust and for his donation of time and famous voice, whom many will remember as the voice of Rafiki in the remake of The Lion King, in support of WWF's work. Chairperson of the WWF board, Vali Musa, has thanked Kani for his service.
Through the Living Planet Award, we acknowledge its founding father and longest-serving member, and take this opportunity to say thank you, Dr. John Kani, for your service.
In his speech after receiving the award, Dr. Kani told the guests that he is worried about the lack of planning from governments in Africa and called on everyone to protect the planet for the future of our children.
But what worries me most, that makes me unable to sleep, are the conflicts in Africa that add on the neglection of the land. It's the moving of people from rural areas into urban areas without the plan from government of saying, as we build these great metropolitans, people will move. Let us not plan how to take them out of Johannesburg, how to take them out of Zimbabwe, how to get rid of them. Let us plan that they will come. Therefore, this is how we will accommodate. It is upon each individual to make your voice heard. This planet is the only one we hear only. And the WWF, the Green Trust, and all other NGOs that have dedicated their lives in making the idea of this planet an urgent issue to each individual. Let's make sure that the kids inherit this planet in a better condition than when we left it.
Meanwhile, conservationist Dr. Odette Curtis Scott was the other recipient awarded the Living Planet Award for an organization. Her organization, Overberg Renosterfeld Trust, ORT, is a conservation team that works closely with partners and farmers across the Overberg. The ORT has tirelessly worked to secure the last remnants of one of the world's most threatened fell types in the neglected lowland habitats of the Overberg in the Western Cape province. Curtis Scott says the partnerships helped them to get to this level.
The key to our journey and our success has been partnerships. From day one, I reached out to all my colleagues in every organization that I knew, and I said, please endorse this, support us, come with us on this journey, because it's going to be a long and hard one. These farmers are.
For Channel Africa News, I am Tutongo Bene in Johannesburg.
Gratitude begins with a story. Find yours on Channel Africa, now streaming on our new website and mobile app. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
We're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa on DSTV's audio bouquet channel 802, on OpenView channel 628, and on www.channelafrica.co.za, as well as on the SABC Plus app, available on the Apple and Google Play stores. Our news headlines up next with Jwalani Tulongwepe.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. Good afternoon. Making headlines, the Southern Africa Red Cross Societies convenes for 2 days from today in Luanda, Angola, for a high-level meeting aimed at assessing the evolving humanitarian situation in the region. The UN humanitarian chief, Tom Fletcher, says his teams need urgent access to the devastated Sudanese city of Al Fasher to help civilians still stranded there. And finally, a tribunal in Dhaka has sentenced the former Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, to death, this after finding her guilty of crimes against humanity and of ordering security forces to kill protesters. I will have details on these and other stories at 1 o'clock.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective. Sports. On Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
We start off with football news. South Africa's Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gaten McKenzie's plan to introduce the video assistant referee, the VAR, in South Africa is gathering momentum. The delegation has sent to Spain this weekend has been left impressed with what they have seen on the ground. Former FIFA referee and newly appointed South African Football Association SAFA project leader for the VAR management team, Daniel Bennett, is in Spain at the invitation of one of the 4 companies they have identified. Bennett is impressed with what he's seen so far and says now it's all about the numbers.
Especially the VAR room, everything we need for the amount of games and the standard and the number of games we have in a season. But yeah, it looks really cool. It's just a matter of costing now, what it's going to cost us to do this. How many rooms are we going to be able to get? Are we going to be able to get Obi Vans? And now it's just a matter of going back, meet to the committee after this report back and going back and getting what are we looking at, what's the final numbers, because we need to crack on this quite quickly.
Zambia's assistant coach Perry Mudapa acknowledged that his side picked up a few lessons from Bafana Bafana, whose cohesion was clear during Saturday's 3-1 friendly defeat at Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. South Africa controlled the match comfortably, despite conceding a late goal after coach Hugo Broos rotated the squad to test new combinations. Speaking after the game, Mutapa admitted that the Chipolo Polo side had been thoroughly outclassed.
South Africa started on a high note, but we knew this is a good South African team. I think in the last 3-4 years, Hugo Broos has built a good team with a lot of players, a pool of players to choose from. So whoever plays, I think he is coming to the party, and we knew it was not going to be easy. But for us as Zambia, I think we had about 4 or 5 debutants.
And Harry Kane poached a late double as England completed a perfect World Cup qualification campaign with a hard-earned 2-0 victory away to Albania in Group K yesterday. In keeping a clean sheet, Thomas Tuchel's side became the first European nation to qualify for a World Cup without conceding a goal in a group featuring at least 6 games. England also became just the 5th European team to qualify for a World Cup with a 100% record after finishing Group K with a maximum 24 points from their 8 games. Now on to tennis news. Top seeds and 2-time champions, the United States, spearheaded by Coco Gauff and Taylor Fritz, were drawn alongside Spain and Argentina for their defense of the Mixed Teams United Cup in Australia. Gauff and Fritz, ranked 3 and 6 in the world respectively, begin their 2026 season in Perth at the 4th edition of the tournament from January the 2nd to the 11th, ahead of the Australian Open at the Melbourne Park later in the month. Spain are led by Joan Munar and Jessica Buzaz Maneiro. World number 1 Carlos Alcaraz has opted instead to play an exhibition match in South Korea against Jannik Sinner in preparation for the season-opening Grand Slam. Let's wrap it up with the golf news. An emotional Rory McIlroy paid tribute to Seve Ballesteros after eclipsing the Spaniard by clinching his 7th race to Dubai title despite being beaten to the DP World Tour Championship by Matt Fitzpatrick. McIlroy moves past Ballesteros' tally of 6 and now sits just 1 behind Colin Montgomery's record of winning the European Tour season long race 8 times. It caps a year that McIlroy had already called his greatest ever after completing the career Grand Slam by winning the Masters in April. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fidel Ngwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Got something to say? Are you passionate about issues that matter? Do you have a voice that deserves to be heard? Well, we've got the perfect platform for you. Call in or drop us a WhatsApp on +27 63 406 9126. And we will call you back so you could have your say and be part of the conversation.
30 years of age. I just turned 30 on the 15th of November. So that's who I am,
It's not just talk. It's your chance to air your views. Share your opinion. Engage with the community that values your perspective. Follow us on our social media. Visit our website at www.channelafrica.co.za and get ready to share your views on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Good afternoon. Africa's leaders and economic experts are sounding the alarm over a rapidly worsening debt crisis, now topping $1.3 trillion. At a high-level panel media briefing recently, chairperson of the G20 Africa Expert Panel, Trevor Manuel, warned that the system governing global lending is pushing African countries toward social and economic breaking points. Manuel says the design of the global financial system, especially the role of ratings agencies, is driving up the cost of borrowing for African economies, even when countries have a similar economic fundamentals to those in the global north.
The issue of debt this year is so extensively canvassed. It's quite important that we find solutions and not just tinker at the margins, amongst other issues. Quite important is the way in which cost of capital is raised, and one of the key metrics there would be the role of the ratings agencies. And you have to ask about the structure of ratings and how that feeds into the cost of capital and how we will unpack that going forward.
The Democratic Republic of Congo, which holds over 70% of the world's cobalt reserves, has unveiled its first 1,000 metric tons of traceable artisanal cobalt. This milestone marks a key step in formalizing a sector that employs an estimated 1.5 to 2 million people and supports millions more indirectly. Executive Director of the Southern Africa Resource Watch, Dr. Claude Kabemba, says although they appreciate this positive step of formalizing the sector, more clarity needs to be provided on a number of questions, including the prices of the cobalt being sold by the artisanal miners.
We know that the labor of these artisanal miners are always undermined. They don't get what they deserve. And what is the value distribution structure from the site level to the export? So we are not very clear. While we appreciate this positive step of formalization, we still have this number of questions that needs to be clarified.
South Africa's newly appointed Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Willie Okamp, has vowed to hit the ground running, turning his portfolio into a job-creating department. He was speaking after his swearing in at the Union Buildings in Pretoria earlier this morning. President Cyril Ramaphosa appointed Okamp minister last week and appointed his fellow party member, Amelia Abrahams, who is the new Deputy Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition. The former DA spokesperson says he wants to make his department an economic portfolio for the people of South Africa.
It is not true that you can't have this portfolio being an economical portfolio. We've got forestry, we've got fisheries, we've got our national parks. all of them contribute towards the GDP of this country. And this is what we must do. We must find the balance between what the communities want and what is in the best interest of nature, and to have that sustainably done for many years. I'm looking forward to working with all stakeholders to really make a success of getting the communities and the environment together sustainably for everybody and for many years and centuries to come.
The Institute of Local Government Managers in South Africa has urged municipal managers to keep the Auditor General abreast of what is happening in the municipalities to avoid being issued with a certificate of debt. This after Auditor General Tsakani Maluleke exercised some of her new powers by forcing the Ngakamudiri Molema District Municipal Manager in South Africa's Northwest Province to pay back almost $270,000. Municipal Manager Alan Lusaba will have to pay the money from his own pocket due to an overpayment for water tank services rendered to the municipality by a service provider. This is the first time the Auditor General is issuing the certificate of debt since the Public Audit Act's extended powers came into effect in April 2019. Nkosiyezwe Vezi is the chairperson of the KwaZulu-Natal chapter of the Institute of Local Government Managers.
If they are encountering difficulties in collecting the money that the Auditor General has instructed them to collect, they must report these matters to the Auditor General and appraise the Auditor General of the difficulties that they are going through in implementing the recommendations. I am sure the Auditor General will not just go ahead and issue a certificate of debt on you, the municipal manager, if we have explained to them adequately what difficulties are encountering. Some municipal managers are finding it very difficult to implement these recommendations because of the political pressure under which we operate.
Hyundai Motor Group says it will invest $86.47 billion in South Korea from 2026 to 2030. This after Seoul finalized a trade deal reducing U.S. tariffs on South Korean autos to 15% from 25%. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung met with Hyundai Motor Group Chairman Ae Sun-chung and other business leaders yesterday, 2 days after details were released on the trade deal, which includes South Korea's promise to invest $350 billion in U.S. strategic sectors. Chung says Hyundai is aware of concerns about exports declining and domestic production shrinking due to U.S. tariffs of 15%, and that the company will also provide support to auto parts makers hit by President Donald Trump's tariffs. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 440. Botswana 13 pula 665. Kenya 128 shilling 2, and Zambia 22 kwacha 44. The BRICS countries in Brazil, the dollar there will cost you 5.29. Russia 80 rubles 78. India 88 rupees 65. China 71.9, and in South Africa the dollar will cost you 17 rand 6 cents. 75 pence to the British pound and 86 to the euro. Gold $4,079, platinum $1,547 per ounce. Brent crude oil is at $63.89 a barrel. For any business stories you would like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business in Johannesburg, I'm Thabisolo Hoko.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Well, thank you to Thabisolo Lohoko with our business news. It is 12:43 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. The Pan-African Parliament and the European Parliament on Friday convened a landmark preparatory meeting for the African Union-European Union Summit Parliamentary Meeting. The gathering held at the PAP headquarters in Midrand, South Africa, marked a decisive moment in the 25-year Africa-Europe partnership convening the two continental legislatures under the theme Renewing Africa-Europe Parliamentary Cooperation in a Changing Global Context. It was the first ever joint session between the two continental legislative bodies. Nhlanhla Mahlangu has more.
The meeting, hosted by the Pan-African Parliament, brought together members of both institutions, senior officials from the European Parliament, and representatives of the host government of South Africa. Delivering his opening remarks, PEP President Chief Fortune Charumbira described the occasion as unprecedented in the history of the Midrand Parliament. He commended the European Parliament delegation and called for the resurrection of Africa-Europe parliamentary relations, which had slowed down in recent years.
I think we are the two prime continental parliaments in the world whose member states have come together, whose member states at continental level have come together and decided to come up with law or legislation establishing the two parliaments. And I think this should be acknowledged properly.
Speaking through an interpreter, Vice President of the European Parliament and leader of the delegation, Eunice Omarjee, emphasized the urgency of redefining Africa-Europe relations in light of shifting global geopolitics and new demographic realities.
On a daily basis, we note that the world geopolitical balances are shifting. International law is under attack. World trade rules are circumvented, and we know that frequently there is an attempt to shift to the will of the strongest. And we are experiencing a moment where we can see a new geopolitical landscape being drafted without us really being able to understand the meaning nor the direction that this new approach will take.
Day one of the gathering discussed issues such as peace and security in Africa and the global gateway to align investment with Africa's priorities. The second day saw a session on youth mobility and skills development for the future. Isabel Bosman from the South African Institute of International Affairs says young people want to have a say on issues of development.
The youth really want to be involved. They want to be in these spaces. They want to learn how it works. We have a model UN program at Youth at SIA, for example, and the uptake for that is just fantastic. Why not have a model PAP and get youth in these spaces? A model European Parliament, get youth in those spaces. What youth want is solutions within the PR system that could strengthen accountability, to remind leaders of who it is that elected them, who it is that they're ultimately accountable to, beyond just the party, and to have more direct and efficient feedback mechanisms. And I think that is an area that definitely civil society and youth themselves can collaborate with on finding those solutions.
Lennon Munyaye, youth coordinator at the African Peer Review Mechanism, says relations between the two continents need to be strengthened.
I think really the relationship between Africa and Europe really needs to be reset. As a young person myself, I think both our continents have not been very honest with each other. I think the relationship remains very unequal, and that for my generation and the future generation to have a peaceful future, a number of things needs to happen.
The gathering came ahead of the highly anticipated African Union, European Union Heads of State and Government Summit to be held in Luanda, Angola. The meeting will serve as a crucial platform for both parliaments to deepen dialogue, strengthen collaboration, and harmonize positions on shared global and continental priorities. It set the tone for a more integrated, future-focused AU-EU relationship anchored on democratic governance, economic transformation, peace and security, and shared prosperity. Reporting for Channel Africa, I am Nhlanhla Mahlangu in Johannesburg.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine, weekdays 6 till 9.
The South African Medical Association, SAMA, has officially suspended all relations with the Israeli Medical Association, a move welcomed by healthcare workers for Palestine, South Africa. The organization says this decision represents a powerful stand for medical ethics, justice, and human rights, echoing the global call for solidarity with Palestinians.
And recently, we've also seen other national associations such
such as the British Medical Association, Turkish, they've released quite strongly worded statements, although none have gone as far as SAMA to cut ties with the Israeli Medical Association, as well as to call for the suspension from the World Medical Association. It's a watershed moment that an organization has actually taken this step. And it's not an idle threat. SAMA is a member of the World Medical Association, and they can action this resolution by bringing it before the World Medical Association.
Dr. Sadiq Mullah, chairperson of Healthcare Workers for Palestine, South Africa.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine. Your life, your rhythm, your Africa. Channel Africa. Find it for free on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Madapiri bazoshitika. Madapiri bazoshitika.
inogeka zingeni chihana lumbiritsidwa kukhala wachiwiri kwa mtsogoleri wa dziko la Malawi pa mwambo omwe unachitika ku nyumba ya chifumu ya Sanjika mu mzinda wa Blantyre. Ndiye pano tili ndi olemekezeka a chihana. Takulandirani olemekezeka pano pa wireless ya Channel Africa pa Chinyanja Service. Malawi ayembekezere zotani kuchokera kwa inu ngati wachiwiri winanso kwa president wa dziko
choyamba ngati vice president umagwira ntchito yopatsidwa ndi president imene yakuganizira ndiye malowozi athu atipatsa bwinobwino koma ntchito yathu yayikulu ndi kuwathandiza president kuti masomphenya awo akwaniritsidwe. Pali zambiri zoti zichitike, nkhani ya njala mdziko muno, boma la udakali chimanga ndi china chomwe chili mdziko muno kuti tithandize ana families are affected. Chachiwiri kunali ma fuel shortages amene akanaliponso apo ndi apo tionetsetse kuti pumps athu asakhale dry.
Zochitika pa nthawi ya 6 koloko kufikira 7 koloko madzulo. Lolemba mpaka lachisanu ndi Madapiri. Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
It is 12:51 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo say 32 miners have been killed in the collapse of a bridge at a cobalt mine in the southeast of the country. An official from the country's mining agency says panic ensued after soldiers opened fire, triggered the collapse of the mine. Reports are that access to the mine had been prohibited due to heavy rains and the risk of landslides, and that miners were on site without permission. Now, officials from a monitoring group accused the army of firing shots to secure the site, and this triggered panic as miners rushed for safety and piled on top of one another. We were speaking to our correspondent there, Jimmy Shukrani Bakwanera, but very quickly we are going to speak to the Upside team with Matseko Museto here. And good morning, well, good afternoon. Ooh, I want to go back. Good afternoon. And how are you doing today? What's coming up on the Upside?
Okay, so what's coming up just after 1, we're going to be looking at the fact that the year is growing closer, and the Southern African Fraud Prevention Services, I beg your pardon, is urging the public to stay vigilant during International Fraud Awareness Week, which actually kicked off yesterday. So from the 16th to the 22nd of November, we're going to be speaking to the organization's CEO, Mani van Skalkwyk. That's one of the big conversations that's happening this afternoon.
Okay, that's the Upside coming up at the top of the hour with Matseko Museto and Tebogo Lekuleni. We now go back to the DRC, where our correspondent Jimmy Shukrani Bakwanera is on the line. Jimmy, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon, thank you so much.
That's a much better connection, Jimmy. I'm very happy with that connection. Now, let's go back to our conversation earlier where you were just describing the situation at the mine currently, especially with just the wildcat mining in that part of the country.
Yeah, thank you so much. Until now, it's a panic after this tragic accident. It occurred in this the mine is called the Kalondo mine near the Mulondo in the province of Lualaba. So for now, it's a panic because the many people have just lost their life. Of course, the government talking about 32%, but according to the civil society and other sources, the number of deaths can go more than the number which the government gave in the communique. This, it's for now, it's a great panic. The situation, the mining situation in the DRC is not very, very on high controlling, and this just occurred a panic in the people just of the territory. The territory where located this mining site, and until now there is no stability to say this. The activities in this mine have just reestablished. We cannot say everything is now calm, because people and other civil societies activities were talking in the morning told to Channel Africa that until now there is no activity, so it means it's a panic and the paralysis of activities in this mine. But the Congolese government have just give a message to the governor of the province just to tell people, and other side which are in this area just to be calm, because some measures of course are going to be taken, even if the civil society is calling this something like in a brawl just on the side of government. But now it's a panic in this man.
Now, what strategies have been put in place by authorities in terms of regulating and containing the situation, because illegal informal mining is a big thing in that area.
Yes, it's a big thing, and the whole economy of this area is just refers to the mining digging, because even people of this province, especially in this territory, recover just some societies of mining digging, like the assistance and supervision of artisanal and small scale mining, which is very known as say MAPE in Saigo. The activities, the main activities of this area is just the mining activity. So the government have put some strategy just to struggle against this digging, which it cannot respect the orders of government. But there is not, until now, which not sufficient, according to the civil society and the people who assisted to this accident. They are asked the government just to put a great surveillance and a great looking for the main activities in order to struggle against that accident, which can just record it in the coming days. Even if the government have just put those measures in place in order to protect people of Lualaba and others, but until now, the local authorities affirms that those measures taken by the government are not sufficient. So they ask the government to reinforce the measures in order to protect people, not only people, because even because among the people who died, there is even children who came from school. So you understand that this is a great situation and a problem which can just touch the entire community of the local community. Reason why the local authority is told to Channel Africa that government must just reinforce the method of just a struggle against such as accident.
And just the human rights groups are calling for an independent investigation into the military's role. And what is the response from government so far?
Until now, there is no great response of the government, because according to government, everything is under control. So those allegations of the human rights, of course, it's funded because, this area, there is a Chinese society, which is a Chinese company, which is called the SHMAF, which is just trying to controlling activities in this man, and this company just have just recorded not only this report gave by the government, but this company said if the government is not to try to accompany them, they will just find some accident. Not this accident, but only the insecurity in the main. They ask the government just to reinforce the Congolese police and military in the main, not just to protect those who are just keeping with activities in the main.
All right, Jimmy, we'll leave it there for today. Thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you so much.
That is our correspondent in the DRC. It's Jimmy Shukrani Bakonera ending that discussion. And that's a wrap of Africa Update today. Continue with us on our social media platforms. And let's do this again tomorrow. Thank you to our producer, Tuto, and our technical producer, Katu Madaba, as well as social media, Siso Sope. Goodbye.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. Good afternoon. Gunmen have attacked a government boarding school in Nigeria's Kebbi state, killing the vice principal and abducting an unspecified number of female students. The assailants, armed with rifles and reportedly using coordinated tactics, stormed the government girls' comprehensive secondary school in Maga town in the early hours of this morning. Vice Principal Hassani Yakubu Makuku was shot dead while resisting the attackers, and a security guard sustained injuries. The gunmen fled towards the neighbouring state of Zamfara with the abducted students. According to teachers, no group has claimed responsibility for the attack. The Southern Africa Red Cross Societies convenes for 2 days from today in Luanda, Angola, for a high-level meeting aimed at assessing the evolving humanitarian situation in the region. The discussions will place a strong focus on Zambia and Malawi, the two countries which are continuing to receive refugees fleeing instability in neighbouring states. Zambia is home to over 150,000 refugees, mainly displaced from the DRC, Burundi and the Sahel. Malawi's Saleka refugee camp, which was originally intended to host 12,000 people, has 60,000 refugees. Secretary General of the Angola Red Cross Society, Felicidade Saraivia.
Okay, we will discuss our partnership between the national societies of Southern Africa and of course also the humanitarian situation in all the 10 countries that we will be represented in this meeting. We have here also in Angola the same situation, and because of the situation on the other countries, humanitarian situation, we receive a lot of refugees in our country, and mostly on the Lunda North, and of course this is affecting our humanitarian situation on the zone.
The UN humanitarian chief Tom Fletcher says his teams need urgent access to the devastated Sudanese city of El Fasher to help civilians still stranded there. He says that the number of people leaving the city has been lower than expected, and he's having tough conversations with the paramilitary rapid support forces now controlling the city to lead in aid. Fletcher is on a visit to the Darfur region, which he describes as the current epicenter of global inhumanity.
We want to get our investigation teams in urgently, and that's been part of the reason for me being here, is to negotiate the access for our teams. And of course we want to get those life-saving aid convoys into Al Fasher. We want to see the UN flag and our humanitarian partners inside Al Fasher responding as best we can to the needs of the survivors.
Political parties represented in the South African Parliament are questioning the arrival of the 153 Palestinians at the OR Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg last week. Their presence in the country has sparked questions around whether proper immigration procedures were followed. The African Christian Democratic Party has accused government of unlawfully intervening to allow the group into the country. The party has also argued that ministers have treated international issues with greater urgency than crises that